You may begin.
From its vast distance to its deep dark depths, the ocean has been through many transformations. From its sea levels rising to the impact it has on culture and people, there has been oceans longer than we have ever walked this earth. Though we know more about the intergalactic impressive idea of space than we can fathom, we know very little about the deep quarry that is the ocean blue.
In this presentation, we'll be introducing our question first, then our argument, elaborate on it. After that, we will be stating possible solutions to our problem and the limitations which come with that.
From the past events that have occurred in the timeline of the human race, it can be inferred that humans are in fact selfish and self-indulgent creatures. As generations upon generations of humanity pass, humans have taken the earth as a quest to expand. The expansion has even led to us to take from the ecosystems of the aquatic underwater life, which leads us to our research question. How will the discovery of submarine life be valuable to humans but harmful to the life underwater?
There's many reasons humans want to capture the resources underwater. First of all, there's a lot of them, and second of all, we use resources. As stated by the U.S. National Debate Topic 2014 to 2015, the ocean floor contains natural resources, many of them untapped. Vast oil and gas deposits lie under the waves. So do hydrothermal vents, where copper, lead, silver, zinc, and gold have been accumulating for hundreds of millions of years. And this is not the only problem, of course. Many, if not most, of the current ocean explorations are funded by oil companies looking to exploit the waters. All of these things have a huge impact on our day-to-day lives,
Which would lead humans wanting to mine and collect these resources. But as said, a lot of these minerals have accumulated near hydrothermal vents. These vents are located near deep underwater volcanic activity connecting to tectonic plates, where many organisms live in the deep black abyss of the midnight zone. Humans can't see to the dark with the naked eye, so they use advanced technologies to see deep into the dark.
Although this may seem beneficial, this is the complete opposite for the marine life ecosystem. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, in partnership with Monterey Bay Aquarium, deep water fish exposed to light have the potential of permanently blinding these fish, which could in fact affect the entire ecosystem, and which when deep sea exploration is conducted. Though this exposes the exotic creatures that have never been seen, that would attract much tourism.
While on the topic of tourism, one of the major ways as to how it positively impacts our economy is by providing money through the form of exploration. Tourism generates much money for certain countries which do not have many other ways to support their economy through other countries through other means of money, and provides people with a chance to immerse themselves into underwater culture. As stated by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, submerged sites are an attractive option of culture tourism, and although many sites are not accessible in situ to the public, a considerable number of them if managed appropriately, is or could be made accessible to the average tourist without threatening their preservation.
The exact amount of money generated by tourism, as stated by the Telegraph, is 3.96% of total GDP. However, there is much difference. According to World Trade and Tourism Council, there is 2.3% of directly accounted for, and indirectly accounts for 10.9%, as well as 9.9% of all jobs. These areas are incredibly important and generate a lot of revenue. And although we think that we're preserving them by visiting, we're doing nothing but harming them.
Us as humans love taking trips to the coast and beaches, yet we are no longer able to enjoy them without looking over our shoulders. As stated by Chase Purdy, a reporter brings light to the concern on recent rising on shark attacks. Although infrequent, shark attacks have more than doubled from 4 attacks in 1955 to 57 attacks in 2015.
Although, to the perspective of the shark, it's just looking for prey. Recent reports show that the seal population in Cape Cod has drastically increased. As stated by Richard Corey from the BBC, the more effects of humans living on the coastlines bring in a lot of changes, from global warming to destruction of habitat and changing of oceanic conditions and dispersion of population of prey. It brings more sharks in. However, of course, sharks might be a massive predator to fish, but an even more predator is humans.
One of the major problems faced is overfishing. Even though the ocean provides us with a magnitude of fish, overfishing is still a pretty big problem. As stated by OECD, the ocean, if not addressed, this will put at risk the long-term economic benefits that the ocean can deliver, as well as the resources on which all the planet ultimately depends on. While our population is growing, it is imperative that we make sure that we have enough food to supply everybody with, so that we do not face A, inflation, and B, famine. This is only one of many issues that submarine life face, but there are many more.
A great issue that affects sea life is what is called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. According to the CNN reporter Marie Lu, she states, this collection of garbage is 3 times the size of France. If it is 3 times the size of France, it is a huge problem to our society and our habitat. This affects the ocean life greatly. These creatures can swallow, choke, or even get stuck in the mass of plastic that swarms the very ocean that stretches as far as the eye can see.
Another major issue would be the cost of these new inventions. Even if it were possible for us to explore all of the ocean, which accounts for 75% of all area on Earth, it will require major subsidies, including but not limited to time, money, and valuable resources. According to the University of California, Santa Cruz, Monterey Bay has a collection of more than 24 separate institutions working there, with more than 2,000 scientists and staff, and annual budgets totaling more than $337 million. Of course, this is just one of many problems.
Many issues affect the entire ecosystem of the oceanic playing field, from oil spills to a threat of an off-balance food chain and even global warming. With sea levels rising with an average of 3.2 millimeters per year, the ocean is getting warmer and warmer.
As mentioned before, there are many problems, and of course there exist solutions to these problems. Firstly, one way to reduce the negative impacts on the ocean is by reducing overfishing. This will help provide food and help us not run out. Secondly, we should let the ocean be as it is without pushing it to its limits, meaning that we should let it is as it be. And it will help us live more cohesively as humans and as sea creatures. And we should create more inventions that are eco-friendly to the ecosystem. And thirdly, we should bring more awareness about the ocean. Many of us are unaware of how important the ocean is to us, and we are exploiting it for its many resources in multiple ways, leading to a disruption in the entire ecosystem.
And of course, with these solutions follow limitations. Firstly, investing billions and billions of dollars into technology without knowing the result is a waste of time, money, and the minerals and resources that we have. Secondly, the technologies that we are going to create, no matter how much we try to make them eco-friendly, the factories creating these technologies will produce more greenhouse gases, which will contribute to oceanic acidification, thus harming the underwater sea life, and if precautions are not taken. Thirdly, with the Great Pacific Plastic Patch, it is important that instead of exploring the deep ocean, we should first handle the problems at the surface level currently. And then lastly, the mystery of the unknown still plagues us, and it could even harm us if we travel deep enough. There have been 2 times that humans have dared to travel to the deepest parts of the ocean, but it required a foot thick flawless metal sphere ball with barely enough space to sit into. There's also harm that comes to the creatures, as Eric Vance states. The probability of an accident goes up with ocean depth. And the deeper you go, the more stable the environment is. And the more stable the environment is, the less they are susceptible to change.
In conclusion, it seems that the problems of exploring the ocean vastly outweigh the possible solutions that it could cause. This is, of course, fishing and pearls are good industries that we love, but we tend to overexploit them, as well as tourism. Although it accounts for a major part of the GDP, it still is an overexploited area. And eventually, with rising populations and rising demand for resources and luxuries, we will exploit them to the point of no return. We must realize now that it is imperative to create a balance before we lose all that we have.
Okay. Okay, Lauren. Give one specific way that your thinking changed as a result of learning about Stora's findings.
Dora's finding talked a lot about economics, because that was her lens. I found it very interesting, and I was, as the ecological person, my apologies, was very focused on more of the environmental damage. And I had a lot of trouble in my personal report thinking about what the possible positive impacts of ocean exploration would be. With Dora's findings talking about money and the incredibly important tourism, as well as luxuries like pearls, it was able to help me figure out good counter arguments to our solution of not continuing to explore.
Dora, in the future, what change would you make to your group norms and how would you expect that to improve the team presentation?
So the change that I would mainly make to our group norms is that to make our punishments more serious. Because this time, while we were working on our project, as a group, we faced many problems. And if we faced those problems earlier and took them a little bit more seriously, then we could have taken it to our teacher or some other third party to better help resolve the problems in our group.
MJ, what is a way in which your team's resolution makes you think differently about your own individual research?
My individual research was social and cultural, and at first we were having a more look on the positive side of exploration, but after looking at all the sources and combining, we saw that it was more negative leaning towards, but mine personally was for more positive, talking about how humans would have more chances to do, seeing as it's like a whole social aspect, and like how it would bring more like resources coming in and it would be helpful, which also connected with Dora's economics. And then also I talked about the sharks, which was another positive for the sharks, as in like it's their habitat. So my research was kind of balanced, but after looking at the solution and overall it leaned more negative, so we manipulated the way that the sources were to fit better with our final solution.
And Lily, what is an example of a compelling argument from one of your peers' individual reports that you decided to exclude from your team presentation and why?
We actually decided to exclude one of mine from my paper. I talked a lot about rising sea levels and global warming. We briefly mentioned global warming, but we decided to exclude the whole rising sea levels and going further more depth into rising sea levels, because it just wouldn't have flown with the whole overall presentation with the oil spills and more negative sides of certain topics that we talked about.
Okay, all right, thank you.